This is the Sensational Spider-Man issue number 24. This is from the Todd Dezago Mike Wieringo run on the series, except Mike Wieringo didn't do this issue. He had an issue off. He was replaced or filled in by Todd Nauck. Yes, that's right. The same Todd Nauck who drew back in 1994 the Extreme Super Christmas Special as a young man is now here in 1997, I believe this issue is from. Yes, 1997, doing another Christmas special. And I have to tell you, it's amazing how great his art improved from just 1994 to 1997. In the span of 3 years, he kept busy. He was working on lots of stuff. He did the Snowmen series and some other stuff I'm probably blanking on. But here he is, 3 years later, working a little bit in the style you'll see in this issue, a little bit in Wieringo's style himself, kind of taking some of that on in order to make it look better as a fill-in issue. And again, this, to be fair, this was done from breakdowns by Todd Nauck. He didn't do the full pencils, so there's a little bit of leeway there. And his art probably would have been a little more simplistic and less finished on the page. But you get to this one in 1997, he's a great artist already. His Spider-Man a little muscular here on the first page, and you'll see that throughout the issue. He draws him not as sort of the lanky Spider-Man, more the almost Ultimate Spider-Man lanky look that we get a lot more of a little bit later on. But definitely a good-looking Spider-Man. He has a bit of a more angular look on his muscles. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but if you look at the way the muscles kind of come in, there's almost a point there at the peak of his forearm muscles and that kind of stuff. Todd Dezago's script on this one, and I hope I'm pronouncing Todd's last name right. I asked him about it for the podcast way back in the day, and I forgot to listen to that before I came out here to record this today. This one's called The Christmas Story. And it's all about Spider-Man trying to get in the Christmas spirit and find gifts for everyone around him and for that one special person that we'll get to in a little bit. There we go. Todd Dezago, same old writer. Comicraft on lettering. Greg Wright on coloring. We'll talk about coloring in a second. Todd Nauck with Andrew Hennessy on guest inks. Ralph Macchio and Bob Harris doing all the editing stuff. Here's a funny thing. There's the newspaper truck for the Daily Bugle, which includes a little ad at the bottom, play Wieringo and win, which is actually a great play on Ringo's last name. Let's talk about the coloring while we're here on this page for just a second. This is that 1997 Marvel computer coloring look where the colors just kind of soaked into the page a little too much. Everyone was using a lot of gradients, and the gradients would turn to mud a little bit. I'm curious, I should probably take a look to see if this is available digitally. I'm sure it probably is, and it's probably a lot brighter there. But as we go through this issue, you'll see sometimes it gets almost a little hard to read because the coloring just kind of gets darker. And it's not necessarily Greg Wright's fault on that one. I think he colors this in a very colorful style, but a lot of the darker gradients just don't hold up on this paper stock for whatever reason. Not sure what that is, but we'll get to it. Todd Nauck does this thing on a lot of these pages where he does decorate in the borders with the lights there. You see that kind of stuff from Chris Pachalo and Death, the High Cost of Living, and Generation X at the time, as well as, Todd McFarlane and Infinity Inc. was doing some crazy stuff in the borders as well. You kind of have to understand the storyline going on at the moment to get the full story. I haven't read these issues in a long time, so I didn't have all the details set in my mind, but Dezago's script does a great job in walking you through everything that's going on. Spider-Man is basically enemy number one. He's accused of being a murderer. He didn't do it. It's an obvious plant that got him involved with this, and obviously he didn't. Well, obviously from the reader's point of view, he didn't do it. From the citizens of New York point of view, they should know better by now, but sometimes you can't always fight public opinion and win. Mass hysteria kicks in. People think bad things. So Spider-Man, someone's shooting at him here. This is a good page with all the Spider-Mans jumping around behind him. We'll get to that. That comes up again a little bit later in an even better panel. But Dezago's script does a good job. There's a lot of caption work here, but it's needed to help explain to a new reader what's going on here. I love these snowmen, by the way. I don't know why. He looks great standing between the two snowmen. It's a great panel there. Dezago does lay this out for a new reader. Every comic is someone's first, as Jim Shooter is popularly quoted as saying. and it holds true in this book. He does keep the new reader up to standards of what's going on. Peter Parker's new neighbor and her daughter are there. There's a 2-page ad. J. Jonah Jameson is mad as always, but Peter's going around town leaving people gifts. It's very cute. It's very nice. He's talking about the situation. There's the page. This one is beautiful. Todd Nauck comes in to do a fill-in issue and freaking rocks it. Let's be honest. That page alone, and this is only a half-panel page, really, of Spider-Man jumping around, and there's, I don't know, almost don't want to count, but it's at least a dozen Ghost Spider-Mans along the way of him jumping around. It shows you how, even at this early stage in Todd Nauck's career, he was able to visualize how Spider-Man moves around and then be able to draw it so beautifully. That one works. This Peter Parker definitely reminds me of Wieringo's look. I mean, that chin line there, that blocky eyebrows, the floppy hair that he had back then, which today would be back in style pretty much. I mean, this hairdo, every boy in high school right now has a variation of that. It looks a little more broccoli-like today than the way it kind of bounces off the center here, but that's what you get. He's going around giving people gifts. It's very sweet. There are other Christmas specials like that. There's a Superman one we'll cover soon. That'll be a shorter one, but you'll see why. That looks like that looks like a Ringo panel right there. This guy has super big moon boots. He looks really short, but it's got great character to it. You know, it kind of looks awkward, I guess, from one point of view, but from another point of view, it has that sort of Disney character look of the big boots, the short legs, but he's in motion. He's got some action going there. We get some more panel border stuff with the holly there, the candy canes. He runs across Hydra Man. They have a quick little fight. It's just a night in the life of Spider-Man in the city, having his bad luck, people giving him a hard time, people thinking he's the one to blame for everything. There's a great punchline here. Here he runs into a toy store. There's Cookie Monster. Can't go wrong when you have Cookie Monster in your issue. Bullpen bulletins. We could do a whole video on those themselves someday. This is a guy he was teamed up with at the Daily Bugle, who was a journalist he was helping out, who he befriended and got to know and like, and he couldn't find the perfect present for him, basically, and that's what the last few pages of this issue are all about, is Peter Parker finding the Christmas spirit, finding the perfect gift for his buddy there, not sure what to get him until finally he does realize what it is, and we'll get to that punchline in just a minute. There's Mary Jane. They're happy. They're in love. The good old days when the marriage was still real. And yeah, so what does Peter Parker get for the guy he's working at the Daily Bugle with, who turns out really loves Spider-Man and thinks he's innocent? Well, Peter Parker sends Spider-Man over to take some selfies with him, and it makes his Christmas complete. That's all he had to do, and it made him feel good, made the other guy feel good. Merry Christmas, everyone. Ho, ho, ho. There's still a good chance for some Spider-Man action there. It's just a fun issue. It's a Christmas issue. It's a fill-in issue. It stands on its own. It explains everything that's going on. You get your happiest of holidays from everyone involved in the issue. And again, here we do have that issue with the coloring. It's a relatively dark room, but everything looks the same value of just darkness. Thank God for Mary Jane's red hair, or nothing would pop off this page. Well, except maybe Aunt May's white hair. But it's a great issue. It's a fun issue. If you like Christmas issues, the Sensational Spider-Man number 24 is one to get. Even the cover's pretty good. It doesn't have a credit on there. I think that's Todd Nauck. Judging by that face back there, I think it's Todd Nauck. Oh, yeah, there it is. I'm sorry. Todd Nauck, Richard Case doing the inks there. So, I got that right. I can tell the difference between 1997 Todd Nauck and 1997 Mike Wieringo. Thank goodness I still have some skills in this comic book business. Sensational Spider-Man number 24, check it out.